Okay, so this is the video I was planning to record a few days ago. I'm recording the new anime, Jujutsu Kaisen. I've been hearing about it for like 6 months. People have been saying it's going to be the next big series to come out showing the Jump. Um, I don't read manga. It's very difficult for me to read because I have ADHD. And also, it'd just be very time consuming. And a lot of money to invest in manga. It's just easier for me to watch anime. I prefer to have visual stimulation anyways from the animation. Um, so I'm just going to keep practicing reviewing and review this series. It's being produced by Studio Mappa. They're doing a lot of big things these days. For instance, they're doing the final season of Attack on Titan. It's doing a lot of big shit. I was reading about one of the directors who used to work at Madhouse, and I think he started Mappa. I read it a few years ago. I might be wrong about that. I don't know. But I think that's how that was. So, gonna just follow this series and see if I think it's as good as a lot of people who read the manga think it is. So it opens, of course, the middle of some scene with, I believe his name is Gojo. He's got Yuji Itadori tied up, or chained up, actually. Assumably because of the curse inside of him that is, he gets at the end of the episode. I know a little bit about the series just from hearing people talk about it, but I don't really know a lot. It's clear he's just seeing whether or not Yuji's a threat. And then after that, because you have to have that hook, you can't open slowly. You can't open boring, like Dragon Ball, for instance. You know, a lot of people start with Z because Z does open very action. I don't want to say action packed, but you're getting the suspense, and you have your antagonist showing up, and there's something there to hook you and grab you when Raditz shows up. As opposed to in Dragon Ball, you just open up and it's kind of just Goku's living his life, and here comes Bulma, and we're going to go on an adventure. Dragon Ball takes a long time to get to anything interesting with the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. And really, you don't get into the good fighting until the 22nd one. And a lot of series can't get away with that, having a very slow beginning like that. I mean, there might be aspects to that you like, but this type of opening we see a lot more common in anime. You see in Naruto, there's a fight in the episode. You see it in Bleach, he fights a Hollow. You see it in a lot of series. Inuyasha, One Piece actually opens up just the middle of a thing going on. The entire conflict. There isn't even a flashback to the slice of life stuff. And there are other series that do that too. This is definitely, like I said, you can't be like Dragon Ball. This is a good way to open the episode. And then, of course, we cut back in time to the slice of life shit. Again, much like Naruto or Bleach, you're going to have some slice of life stuff happening before there's more conflict later. To kind of show off, this is how a person's been living their life, and then here's what's going to change their life. Itadori, his personality is a little unique as a protagonist, but he's special. He's a genetic freak. He's got all this stuff about him that you would find in a lot of series. I personally don't like that. I don't like your protagonist being born special. And I don't know the circumstances yet. I'm assuming his parents were somehow wrapped up in this jujutsu, sorcery, curse fighting shit. And that's why he's a genetic freak. I'm assuming that. And I'm assuming they were killed by some curse, and that'll come back later, and he's going to have some conflict with it, because that's a very generic thing in anime as well. But yeah, I'm not a fan of people being born special. I don't like Naruto, Uzumaki. I don't like Ichigo Kurosaki because they were born special. And I much prefer someone like Goku, who you could argue from one perspective he was born special. But I would say that he really wasn't. Krillin was also a child prodigy. Tien and Chaozu, I'm sure, were... Well, Chaozu is also a child prodigy. Tien, I'm sure, was one. He's not the strongest person right off the bat, and there's no guarantee he's going to be. Goku only becomes the strongest character because Bulma meets him and he goes out into the outside world and starts meeting people and training with different masters in order to become stronger. Had Bulma never met Goku, he would have just sat there until Raditz came by, and Raditz either would have killed him or convinced him to leave with him and introduced him to Vegeta. And who knows what would happen then. He's very passive as a protagonist in that regard. He never was going to go out into the world and make anything happen. Maybe King Piccolo would have killed him at some point. Who knows? But he was never born to be anything beyond that. He entirely kind of chose those circumstances. He chose to go out into the world and meet all these people and grow stronger, and that's what allowed all this stuff to happen. Him to become who he became. But like I said, if Bulma never meets him, he never does that. Unlike Naruto or Ichigo, who in their respective stories were always going to be special. Naruto was born as the most special person ever in his universe. With or without the nine-tailed fox, he was already special, but with it, he's even more special. He was always going to be something. Even if he never trained to use his power, if the village gets attacked by pain one day, the nine-tailed fox was going to come out of him. You weaponize it or something, and it would be used to defend the village. He was always going to do something special. If Ichigo never meets Rukia and becomes a Shinigami, he'll unlock his Quincy powers one day in a conflict with the Hollow, or by meeting Ulquiorra, or the Fullbringers find him and he awakens his Quincy powers, something like that. They were always going to have something happen. Goku lived down in the middle of nowhere. He wasn't always going to be something. And if you want to say that he was special because he was a genetic freak, you can say that. But that's only true until he becomes a Saiyan, because once you find out he's a Saiyan, he's no longer special. Vegeta's special. He was born super powerful as a fucking Saiyan. Frieza's special because he was born even more special than Frieza, or Vegeta, and more powerful. Goku was born weak as fuck, so he wasn't special at all. He was perfectly common among Saiyans. So he's not a special protagonist, as unlike a lot of people would think. Itadori, to get back to Jujutsu Kaisen, because that was a little bit of a off topic, Itadori is special, at least in my opinion. He's a genetic freak. But he's also an active protagonist. Unlike Goku, who's very reactive, he, like I said, he doesn't go out in the world and look for conflict. He goes out in the world to get stronger. He's active in his desire to get stronger and meet people. He's not active in the whole justice, go out and fight bad people thing. He's very reactive when it comes to his antagonist. Itadori seems very proactive. He's very active. He, when he meets, what's his name, Fushiguro, and they're at the school to save his friends, he just kind of sitting there, and he eventually decides he's going to go and help, and he jumps to a window and punches the curse in the face, and yeah. He's very active, like a lot of shonen protagonists are. He certainly isn't going to wait for the plot to come to him, it seems like. At least in this episode. Curses are big monsters, your original antagonists, much in the same way that Hollows were, or ghosts were in Mob Psycho, or monsters were in One Punch Man. They're big monsters. They're pretty cool. I'm sure we'll see this for a little bit. But eventually, obviously, they're going to have to bring in some kind of human curse hybrids like Yuji. because that's what every series does. With Bleach, Hollows eventually became fucking Shinigami. And then there was the Espada, which were Hollows that became kind of humanoid. And then you have the Fullbringers. It's always, you gotta have people so that people can relate and grow emotional attachment. And you can kind of have some more interesting emotional and psychological conflict rather than just a monster of the week type of thing. Or like with Mob Psycho, you know, they end up fighting other Espers with claws as opposed to just fighting ghosts all the time. So I'm sure it'll eventually be that people use curse powers or something to do something. I don't know. Fushiguro was a pretty cool character, generic kind of, I don't know how to describe him. He's very emotionally numb, kind of distant. You know, he doesn't emote a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. He's got an interesting power with his 2 dogs. That seems like a very weak power, and I'm concerned that he's quickly going to be left behind by Itadori. Because unless he can evolve that power and keep making his dogs bigger and stronger or has some other way to use his power, I just don't see him keeping up with the other characters to come, who I'm sure are going to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger, because this is a shonen after all. He also got defeated. It'd be interesting if that does happen to see him kind of get pissed off at Itadori and kind of jealous, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. The series is violent. It's gory. I enjoy that. At least the curses are violent and gory. I saw a preview for the 3rd episode today. I don't have Crunchyroll Premium, so I'm gonna be a week late on every episode. Yeah, it seems like it's a pretty violent series. That's good. Hopefully it doesn't deal with too much censorship, because God knows some series get it really bad. Has some decent action scenes. Itadori fucking transforms at the end and just smacks the curse away. I like that. I'm more of a fan of the long form action like you see in classic shonen. You know, it takes multiple episodes for a fight to resolve. I like that a lot more than I do the more modern, fast-paced 5-minute fights. That doesn't really... leaves a lot on the table, a lot to think about, as opposed to in Dragon Ball. If someone won a fight, you usually know they won and why they won. There's no, well, what if they did this and what if they did this with a lot of fights in Dragon Ball. You know who won and that they were just better, and there's no what ifs left on the table. So hopefully you get into some longer fights later, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Itadori at the end of the episode sacrifices his humanity to get the power of a curse. Now, he didn't know necessarily what would happen. He was just trying to desperately gain enough power to win. And I like that. I like characters that sacrifice in order to attain power. I think power needs to come at a cost. And certainly a lot of shonen either don't follow that and someone just gets a power without having a cost, or did have a cost, but then that cost is reversed by some plot shit, like at Hunter x Hunter, or with Gon kind of sacrificing all his body and then he's saved, but he can't use Nen. Or it does come at a cost, like early Naruto loses control of his body. You get power not until Fox, but eventually he gets control over it. Which is just... I like characters, you know, if they're going to put out too much power, then it'll kill them. Kaoken was the original example of that. And then you have, like, the Gates in Naruto. I like that type of thing. So I like this. He's gonna... his curse took over his body. He's gonna eventually be sharing it with it. I'm assuming that it's just gonna grow stronger over time, and he'll be constantly in internal conflict trying to keep control of his body. So that'll be interesting. If he needs more power, he'll have to let some of it out. and he'll be giving up some control of himself. So that's interesting, and I like that. And so yeah, now he's living with this curse. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I can see why people like this series, just based off of this episode. And hopefully I continue to enjoy it too. I'm sure I will. Because I don't need a lot, I just need cool fights and I'm pretty satisfied. I don't really have too much criticism, I don't think, other than Itadori being special. A genetic freak, that's my only real criticism. Yeah.